Wednesday, 21st September 2023 till Thursday, 22nd September 2023. This run of podcasts listening changed from what was originally intended into something different. Because my main podcast listening is done while I am at work in a van, doing my site checks and responding to call-outs, it has to fit around that in many ways. It started in the usual format, though. To pull away the curtain and answer a question I don't think I answered very well in the forthcoming episode of A Sleigh Bells and Mistletoe Christmas that I guested on, where Ricky asked how I plan my listening. I try, for the most part, to plan an even number of shows to help with the blog, where I used an app on my phone called Pick Collage to create the images that go into the blog posts. It's usually a mix of mid-length shows that are between an hour and 2 hours each, alongside shorter bite-sized shows. I then spend the night speaking notes into my iPhone using the Siri AI, which are edited for any misunderstood bits, although some do get missed from time to time. The secret is that from time to time, the longer of the shows I listen to are the more celebrity-based shows or audio dramas, where for the most part, I will copy and paste their notes and add quotation marks either side to point out that they are directly quoted. I've just thought that maybe for copyright reasons that I should add a disclaimer at the beginning of my post. So Thursday night shift started with me listening to episode 5 of The Rise of King Asilas. An audio drama is a good thing for the driving to work from home because it's copy and paste information-wise, with rare notes added occasionally. Episode 76 of Stew World Order started while I was still on the way to work. It's very often my driving to work listening because I love the comfort of listening to Stew's show either to start a shift in a positive mood or to bring me up emotionally on the way home after an absolute shitter of a shift. I'll do that with Bill Reed's Bad Reviews and review it yourself very often as well. Stew World Order saw Stew being joined by Brad from the Cinema Guys to look at the film 300, Rise of an Empire. I didn't even know this film existed. Creator Frank Miller seems to be okay with film adaptations of his work, as opposed to the seeming curmudgeon that is Alan Moore, creator of Watchmen, V for Vendetta, and all that other cool shit. The Bones Spook saw the team looking at the first season Bones episode, The Man in the Bear. As soon as they started describing it, I had memories of the courier lady named Tony and the whole two guys trying to date her. It's a cliched story point, but with a different twist to it in the end. Episode 84 of Beauty Unlocked saw Carissa looking into the goings-on in Versailles, with one of my standout blog post notes being, should I be shocked that despite the wealth they had, the aristocracy at Versailles were filthy buggers? I listened to an episode of Tech Mobility where Ken spoke about motor loans, continued his chat with Sue Mead, a four-wheel drive Hall of Famer, and how climate change is affecting the prices of houses. Friday's driving to work started with the latest episode of Beatles book from September 15th, where Joe Wisby spoke with author Ken McNabb about his book Shake It Up Baby, which looks at the Beatles in 1963. Out of the notes now, into making up as I go along. I've sent a message to Ken, and we're trying to get him booked for an extra episode of Toppermost of the Poppermost, because I thought, since in that show we're going through 1963 month by month of the Beatles and what was going on the charts around them, I thought it might be a good year ending for us to have a one-off episode with Ken where we talk about his book that is all about the Beatles in 1963, and we also use that as a close to the year and a look at the year in full as to what was going on. Our Cynic Culture from May 22nd saw Jason and Matt being joined by their friend Owen to look at an expensive absinthe from Pernod, a decadent drink that had been banned in many countries for decades. Tabletop Genesis saw Mike and Tom looking at the latest released Peter Gabriel song, Love Can Heal, a song that he performed with Sting live on stage back in 2016. The Drive Home was an episode of Smartless from September 11th this year, where Jason, Will and Sean spoke with journalist Cara Swisher. She has a podcast as well, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was. Comfortable listening, but needed very little note-taking. Saturday's drive into work saw me enjoying the company of Rob Lowe chatting with his guest, the stand-up comedian King Bag, or King Batch, however you pronounce it. Rob's show literally sees him chatting with a lot of people that he knows from all over the celebrity spectrum for the most part. It's one of a plethora of celebrity-fronted shows that came about due to the lockdown. Most of which did it for the large sums of money offered by Spotify and Amazon, as well as other services. Most of them are by the numbers structurally, though, and in so are extensions of the TV chat show formula, to my mind. The definition of background listening. You remember listening, but for the most part, don't get the same sort of experience as you would from a great independent show from those who do it for love, not for money. Did I really say that? Yeah. Not all of them are like that, but a great many of them do just that. Turn the page. Also in the drive to work, I listened to the very first episode of Law again. I say again because I remember listening to the show a good few years ago, but then stopping. So I've started again at the beginning. Janelle Wheeler from Comic Book Nation has finally gone away for a honeymoon now that the world is reopened for the most part. Well, maybe with the exception of Ukraine and other former Soviet nations, that the obviously mentally incapacitated Vladimir Putin decides to invade in a ridiculously vain attempt to rebuild the Soviet Union. Someone just go and kill the bastard, or at the very least use the fact that he is definitely mentally incapable to run the country or to replace him with the deputy. Oops, I'm sorry, I went political there. This week in Marvel saw series stalwart from episode 1, Ryan Penagos, joined once more by Angelique Roche. Ryan has been there ever since episode 1 as he was the creator of the show. I hope his usual co-host, Lorraine Sink, and her husband are doing okay with their lovely son, Harrison. Face the Music and Electric Light Orchestra Song by Song podcast spoke about the very progressive, before the term was even used, song Missed on a Monday Morning by The Move. Of course, I like the bloody song. Chris Cheney looked at the series Twisted Metal in episode 62 on Real Film Reviewed, an episode that came out the night or day before I listened to it, but I forgot to put the release date in the notes used for the blog post. Marv, you did it. My drive home was taken by listening to a great conversation that Martin Ware had with his bandmate and solo artist Bernice Scott. She is the daughter of Robin Scott from the band M, who wrote the classic song Pop Music. Look it up, you'll know it. Sunday was a night from hell at work, with an incident that I obviously cannot go into detail with. It started with me finally listening to the episode of the Ray Harryhausen podcast from a couple of months ago, where they had a live award ceremony with trustee Conor Heaney, joined by judges John Walsh, Vanessa Harryhausen, and Steve Henderson. This Goose is Cooked from September 16th saw David looking at the book The Johnny Mon, written by the late great Jimmy Buffett. Rest in peace, Jimmy. Later in the shift, it all turned to shit, so I went on to the celebrity shows that I didn't have to write too many notes about. Inside View saw Michael Rosenbaum chatting with Jamie Kennedy, looking at how his quest for a career in entertainment has affected his own private life. Same with most work, really. The Night's End episode from January 28th, 2021 was a great piece of writing with the main story by Robin O'Sullivan being based in truth, giving it a more eerie feel. The intro bit with Xander from Xander and Snow playing a butler was a fun surprise. I love Xander. Great guy. How am I going to say this one? Yeah, I effed it up. I've cut that word. Okay, but yeah, is another celebrity-based show that this time has people discussing some moments where things went a bit tits up with their careers. The first episode was with singer Kelly Rowland, once of the girl group Destiny's Child and now a top solo artist. The first episode of 6 Degrees with Kevin Bacon saw Kevin chatting with fellow actor Mark Ruffalo. This was my drive home. The bit where Mark talks about how he moved to an area with his family and all of his neighbours are up for fracking, and he's anti-fracking is fascinating. Monday night saw things slightly different work-wise after the weekend events, meaning more work on the site that was involved in the incident I can't talk about. The drive to work was made more enjoyable by the closing episode of season 2 of Neon Shadows, an audio drama that is 100% all of the time. Digging in the Dome from March 29th, 2020 included a conversation about them trying to buy alcohol during the lockdown, getting addicted to documentaries because there's little else to do during the lockdown, waking times in a lockdown. There's a lot of lockdown in that episode, isn't there? Having one of their songs in a Leonardo DiCaprio film that didn't get released, finding parents in sexual positions when they were kids, not the parents, but when they were kids, they found the parents in them, and so much more. The lockdown thing. I've said it before. Because of my job, I wasn't restricted to staying at home. I had to go to work, essential key worker. Atlas Obscura from May 31st, 2021 looked at a sinkhole that swallowed up 8 rare vehicles in the National Corvette Museum in Kentucky, and Everything Everywhere Daily from August 5th, 2020 saw Gary Arndt talking about the true American hero Lloyd Burke, whose act of heroism, however you want to say it, in a battle situation sounds like a classic World War II film story, and yet no film is being made about him. Wow, that story about him. God, unbelievable heroism. What he did and all those people, wow. Well, anyway, that's a very quick look at some shows I listened to. For the entire list, look at the different days in my blog, Marv's Midlife Meanderings. As an aside, while I was off, I recorded a show with... What did I record the show? I recorded a show with Ed, who is the creator of the fantastic Inspector podcast. That is spelled INSPECTRE, as in ghost. Inspector. Really good. It's an audio drama about an investigator who's passed away, and as a ghost, he investigates with help. So the investigator's name is Calvin. Yep. And he is helped by his assistant, Arthur, in basically investigating paranormal and supernatural crimes. Anyway, thanks for everyone for listening. Take care.